Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Sports Saviors. It is Sunday, about 4:30 p.m. Post-game Steelers coverage here. I think the big takeaway for me, at least, is however you felt about this team coming in. I don't think anything changes after this win, unless you're really down on them. I don't think we have any answers overall, but the Steelers get a 18-10 win. Um, Although the score was close for most of the second half, I think that it felt, as a Steelers fan, I felt pretty comfortable with this win. It seemed like they just completely shut down Atlanta in the second half. Kirk Cousins' numbers were miserable coming into the second half for sure. What are your thoughts, Lee? Steelers get an 18-10 win.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's pretty much whatever you expected this team was going to be right now. I mean, it's a new team. Get a backup quarterback in. It wasn't that big of an offensive game. It was 6 field goals by Boswell. And the defense is the defense how they always are. Holding the other team that they're playing against, low numbers, things like that, and putting pressure on the quarterback and things like that. So I think just however this team was coming into the season, from the preseason games and how they are right now, I think this is who they are right now. And I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for all these new guys to mesh and get things kind of rolling for them all, just to kind of see how things are going to go. But it's a, nice little win for us for week one, so we'll see how things keep rolling for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Justin Fields, 17-23, 156 yards, 14 carries, 57 yards, just 2 sacks, but one of those sacks was pretty ugly. 91.9 passer rating. I think, like I was saying before, this is the key guy I'm talking about. Really, is if you're a guy who likes Justin Fields and you saw him play today, you go, see, look, this guy's the guy you want out there. He should be our starter. If you're not a Justin Fields guy, you see that, you watch that game and you go, this guy's not a starting quarterback in the NFL, and you need to make sure that Russell Wilson gets back. He had some flashes every once in a while. There's some long passes. Nice pass to Pickens for 40 yards at one point. But overall, a lot of dinking and dunking for those good completion percentage, obviously, 17-23, but that's only 6.8 yards per attempt at 156. But I think it is what it is. It was for a backup, that was a great game. That's exactly what you want from a guy who didn't learn he was going to be the starter until late in this week, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he stepped up when needed, and made the plays that he needed to make, and did what he could for this game. I mean, as the backup, he didn't get probably as many reps as he probably wanted, before coming into this game. But with the time that he did have with the first team for practice, I think he did the best that he could right now. And if he is going to be starting in week 2, depending on, barring any further injury with Russell Wilson that he has, he's definitely going to get a nice little week of practice with the first team as well, and so he should be a little bit more better prepared when it comes to week 2, coming up for him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Well, you got to think Russ will be back, but who knows with this injury? I think it was pretty clear that he was trying to say that he was ready he might be ready for this week, but in reality, there was no shot he was going to be out there.
Yeah.
Najee Harris had a solid game, great, 20 carries, 70 yards, 3.5 average there. He added 1 catch for 9 yards. Cordell Patterson had a couple carries, nothing special. Warren only got 2 carries. I think that's a big thing that we should talk about, right? Jaylen Warren coming back from injury. They didn't give him much time in there.
Yeah, just from looking at whatever the stats were and things like that, from last season, they were a 2-man punch, and the fact that, it wasn't like they were both out there playing, from what I've seen from stats and stuff for this game, it seemed like Najee was just the main guy out there. Maybe as the season goes on, they'll incorporate him into the offense and having them, be back to back how they were doing at that second half of the last season, so we'll see how things kind of go and, go forward with him. But yeah, it really wasn't that much of a game for him. It was more Najee today.
Is my connection iffy right now?
Yeah,
No?
it's off and on. You're like
Okay.
freezing and choppy and things like
Why
that.
don't you yeah, you go through the stats real quick, and I'm gonna come back in a second. Okay, you want to go through?
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I got some team stats here for us. So again, final score: Steelers 18, Falcons 10. We have total yards. Steelers had 267 total yards to the Falcons 226 total yards. Pass yards were about the same. Steelers had 133 pass yards. Falcons had 137 pass yards. Rushing yards, Steelers had 134 to the Falcons 89. Yards per play, the Steelers had 4 yards per play to the Falcons 4.5 yards per play. First downs, almost the same. Steelers had 17, Falcons had 15. Third down efficiency was a lot better today than what we've seen, most of last season. They went 50%. They were 8 for 16 for the Steelers, and the Falcons were 2 for 9. Fourth down efficiency, Steelers were 0 for 2, while the Falcons were 1 for 1. Total play, Steelers had 66 to the Falcons 50. Each team had 2 sacks allowed. Punts were about the same. Steelers had 3 punts. Falcons had 4. Penalty yards. This was something we kind of talked about last season. The penalty yards, the Steelers had 9 for 60. This is something that we got to hope that as the season is going on, that they can fix this issue, because penalties were a big issue, giving up a lot of yards last season. So the Steelers had 9 for 60 penalty yards. The Falcons 5 for 34. Fumbles lost. The Falcons had 1. Steelers had 0. Interceptions thrown. Falcons had 2 thrown to the Steelers 0. And time of possession, which was a lot better today than we've seen a lot of last season. The time possession, Steelers had 35 minutes and 36 seconds to the Falcons 24 minutes and 24 seconds. So, again, one of the areas that we talked about a lot last year were the penalty yards. I mean, this is something that they have to clean up from last season. I mean, you can't have 9 penalties for 60 yards. I mean, that's just something that they just cannot continuously do, coming in from last season and bringing it into this season. This is something that they're going to have to clean up, because again, you're giving up all those yards to the other team and getting them closer to their end zone. That's not helping. So, or moving us backwards away from where we need to be. So that's something they need to work on. Again, it was nice to see the time possession with the Steelers at 35 minutes. So that was pretty good. And, no turnovers for our offense, and the defense got 3. So that was pretty good. So hopefully they can clean up the penalty yards and keep the nice of the time possession up like they did today, and continue to do well with the third down efficiency. So we'll see how week 2 goes, but hopefully Mike Tomlin can, have some answers, because we can't continue to have these penalty yards how it was last season coming into this season.
Yeah, there were a couple penalties there where, as Steeler fans, you get a little frustrated. The one was early on, is TJ Watt's offsides call, where it looked like it was a close call, obviously, but I don't think he jumped that snap. I think he hit it right on the money there. And then the one that is going to be more comical, and I mean, it might have ramifications later on, is the Cameron Johnston punt, where everyone, including the announcers, thought it was a question of whether or not it was going to be running into the kicker or if it was going to be roughing the kicker. But then the refs come out and they tell us that it's a holding call on the Steelers.
Yeah.
And then we get to see Chris Boswell come out there. And, of course, he's the MVP of this game. 6 for 6 on field goals. And he comes in here in a situation where it's 4th and 31. And you got to be worried that maybe this guy's going to muff this punt. Something bad's going to happen. But he gets the punt off. They get I mean, it was a solid punt, too. It was a line drive. It wasn't great, but the coverage was great on it. And that was pretty much what sealed the game there, is to get that play over with.
Yeah.
But just going through the scoring in this game, it started off with a field goal from the Falcons. The Steelers were able to come back the next drive and get a field goal of their own and make it 3-3. After an interception by the Falcons, the Steelers get another field goal, make it 6-3 Steelers. That score stays around there until a little later. The almost end of the half. The Falcons have a 9-play, 90-yard drive as the half's ending to make it 10-6. So the Steelers, when you're frustrated, you're thinking they're gonna have to go to the half 10-6. But the Steelers go 4 plays, 45 yards in 32 seconds to make it 10. They get another field goal, 10-9 at the half. Nice play by Pickens that he almost ruined by staying in bounds, but fortunately he got bumped out his foot stepped out actually to save him there, but he almost he almost took some points away from the Steelers, but it luckily didn't happen there. So we come out second half, couple punts or a punt, fumble by the Falcons. Steelers end up getting a field goal on that drive, going 9 plays, 24 yards, make it 12-10. And from that point on, the Steelers don't lose the ball again. Punt by the Falcons, another field goal to make it 15-10. Punt by the Falcons again. Steelers have a decent drive, but they end up on 4th and down. They don't convert. Falcons get the ball back, have to punt again. Steelers have to punt again, blah, blah, blah. Finally get an interception of Kirk Cousins. Steelers get one more field goal to make it 18-10, and that's your final score. The defense just at the end, this is the defense in the second half drives for the Falcons here.
Wow.
We have a fumble. We have a punt with 0 yards. We have a punt with -5 yards. We have a punt with 7 yards. We have a 2 plays interception. And then the end of the game, 3 plays, -2 yards. So the defense just completely shut them down in the second half. It was impressive to watch.
Yeah, that defense is, one of the most expensive in the league, and rightfully so, because you have some of the best players on that team. And hopefully it might be how it was similar, where the defense is keeping us in a lot of these games, so hopefully the offense can get rolling. Again, it's only week 1. So, we still have another, 16, 17 weeks, left of the regular season total. And, hopefully as things, kind of progress on through the rest of the season, they can all mesh, barring any other injuries on offense and things like that. Maybe Russell Wilson will be starting next week. If not, Justin Fields will get some practice and be able to get that offense moving. But the defense looked phenomenal, from what I've seen. And I think that they're going to be probably in the top 10 probably sometime this year as the season goes on.
Yeah, defense only had 2 sacks, but they were pressuring Cousins all game long. TJ Watt was one of those sacks. He also had 2 tackles for loss and a fumble recovery. Some interceptions. Dante Jackson and Deshaun Elliott, 2 guys they got this offseason to come in, and the immediate impact from both the guys there. That you love to see that. There's really nothing bad you can say about the defense in this game, other than that one drive, I guess, towards the end of the half was a concern, but other than that, they were pretty solid the whole way through. I see that you have company in the background. I'll keep going. I have Tomlin coming here's his post game. I'm gonna pull that up now.
Okay, sounds good.
Man, I'm just really appreciative of the efforts of our guys. It was a fight. Obviously, we weren't perfect, man. There's week 1 like things, particularly early on in the game. We warmed up to it defensively, man. We dropped a pick or something there early. They converted some 3rd downs and started the game with a field goal. And, that's not why we put our defense on the field to start the game. We had some fumbled CQ exchanges on offense. We were shooting ourselves in the foot. Some drives got stopped. You're kicking field goals, man, in a hostile environment versus a good group, man. You're in danger. And so I'm just really appreciative that we're able to get it done. We got things to work on, but it's really good to work on your ills with the W. And so we're going to do that. You start this season, man, on the road, man. It's 32 teams, start this thing undefeated. And it's just good to get your first one on the road. Half this league is obviously not going to be winners this week. And to get on the road and get out of the gate with a W is something that I respect. And it's really excited for the guys. From a health standpoint, Cam Johnston appears to have a serious injury. I have an update for you next time we come together. It's a shame for him. This guy has been spectacular, man, through team development. He's an absolute stud, not only in his talents, but his approach to business. And so, my heart goes out to him. Darius Rush is being evaluated for a concussion. I don't know whether it is or isn't. But as the game ended, he was being evaluated in that way. We had some bumps and bruises. Some guys go out, but those guys came back in. D-Jack, Joey Porter. But I'm just really appreciative of how the team supported one another and fought through. And that's what teams do. A case in point is we gave up a drive there before the half, and our offense went down the field and got a field goal to respond, and that was important. Obviously, you saw our defense stand up several times in support of our offense. We had some unique contributions today, like Scotty Miller as a backup holder. Look at your flip card, man. You don't see a backup holder on that flip card. So we're just really appreciative of unique skill sets that help us win. Can't say enough about Boz, not only in terms of him kicking the ball, but that punt was timely. TJ Watt always delivers when it gets thick. We don't take that for granted. We appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. And so there's a lot of efforts to speak to. But largely, man, we're just thankful to come into this place and get this victory and kind of move on with our journey. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Those are his opening remarks. Lee, what are you thinking about what he had to say there?
Yeah, it's first off disappointing to hear that it seems like it's a serious injury for the punter. So, it looks like we'll be looking elsewhere probably for another punter. I don't know if we have anybody on the practice squad or not, to come up, but hopefully for a speedy recovery for Cam Johnson. It just seems like everything that he said, it's just about, how, just week one is. You just never know how things are going to go. A lot of mistakes and miscues that they had. And it looks like they filled up the spots that they needed to fill whenever, people needed to come in. Hoping for any other, recovery for any other injuries that did happen this week as well. It seems like he's a little just disappointed, but he's fine with just how it kind of played out because of just how the game kind of went along. He's, definitely appreciative of the defense, and gotta definitely thank Boswell for, everything he did today. So, it just seems like it's week one. He's just trying to kind of see how, things, how he's going to have to readjust things for the, next week and the rest of the season as things come along for this team.
Yeah, I don't think it was too bad overall offensively, but they couldn't finish the drives. I thought the play calling was fine, but they only had one trip into the red zone throughout the whole game, and that didn't end up with anything special. Ended up with a fourth down that they weren't able to convert on. So there definitely needs to be improvement on offense, but defensively, especially in that second half, there's not much to complain about at all. There's nothing really to complain about at all. I thought they were excellent. Cameron Johnston, that injury there is rough. I was trying to see if we had another punter in it for camp, but I couldn't find it. I know we had two kickers in. I thought we had another punter in, but I could not find the preseason list, and I can't remember from the preseason either who was in there. But I thought other than that, the health-wise, it seems like it's good. Joey Porter Jr. getting hurt, I was a little worried there. It's good to hear that he's seems to be okay. After week one on the road, that's something that we didn't bring up initially. On the road, getting a win on the road, even if it's a game against the Falcons, who may not be a playoff team this year, I think that was solid and great to see. Them survive. They're losing at the half, still come back and win. They were the underdogs in the game, so you can't complain too much with your backup quarterback in there. So let's open it up for questions and see what the press had asked Tomlin.
You wanted to pass on the field goal there. The previous drive is figured what's time to score a touchdown. What was the thought process?
Just, we're going to live that life. We don't live in our fears, man. We play to win. If you can't get 4th and 1, man, sometimes you don't deserve to win. And that's just a philosophical approach that we live by. I believe in our bigs. I've talked to you guys repeatedly that we're going to ride the wave that our bigs on offense and defense provide, and we mean it. Obviously, we didn't get it done right there, but we still live that life.
How do you evaluate the job that Justin Fields did today, especially settling in as the game went on?
Really appreciative of his efforts in this play, certainly.
What happened in pregame where you can take it to that decision-making progress? Was Russ even a consideration?
It's really, not a long, drawn-out process. I'd rather deal with short-term misery, to be quite honest with you. We're in week one. There's a lot of ball out in front of us. I just thought it was appropriate to put the healthy guys on the field. I felt really good about both quarterbacks. I was very clear to you guys when I named Russ the starter how comfortable I was with both quarterbacks. And so if that is true, why not be really comfortable with playing Justin under the circumstances, with Russ being in less than ideal physical shape? And so that was the thought process. It wasn't a lot of discussion. Russ was very supportive today, and that was appreciated. But we went with Justin. Man, I'm glad we got two real capable quarterbacks, as I've mentioned before.
Yeah, just going back. Presley Harvin wasn't preseason. He just lost the job to Cameron Johnson. So he was the guy that was in punter-wise. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this comments about the quarterback position? I think he's right. If you have confidence in both these guys, there's no reason to put Russell Wilson out there week one.
Yeah, exactly. And he seems like he's happy with what he has right now in the quarterback room, and having, another competent quarterback that's healthy enough to step up and make the plays that need to be made, especially on the road for week one. He's back to his Tomlinisms, living that life. That's his new thing. It seems like right now. Yeah. So they're living that life and doing what they need to do for week one and getting that win on the road. So he seems pretty pleased with just how it was, just having the healthy guys out there. So, he seems just happy with how things kind of, went about for this game. Yeah,
personally, I am not that comfortable with Fields overall. Throughout the whole season here, I thought he was serviceable today. There's just like little things here and there that worry me, give me concerns. Even that fourth down call that they're talking about, just slipping up there and a key play. I think that has partly to do with just focus and stuff like that. And I don't know, when you have a team that gives up on you in a trade like that, I think it is something to mention, like whether or not this guy can be a franchise guy. The fact that the Steelers haven't really talked too much about re-signing him. They didn't give him, didn't opt into his contract either. Where are you at with Fields overall? I don't know how much we've actually talked about how comfortable you are him for a long-term solution, either long-term this year or long-term overall going into further seasons too.
Right now, I think that he is probably above average, backup right now. Just depending on if he can get some development, get some tools and, some just lessons and things like that behind Russell Wilson. Hopefully, Russell's teaching him something, and, spreading that knowledge to him, and hopefully that, he can come out, depending on how long Russell Wilson is here. And, depending on the development for Justin Fields, maybe he can be the starting quarterback moving forward. Again, I just think right now where he's at, I think he's just probably one of the better backup quarterbacks that are in the league right now.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the better backups. I don't want to get that out of if I wasn't portraying that. He's probably top 30 quarterback in the league, which obviously means if he's your backup, you're looking good. The question is whether he can be top 15, whether it can be top 10, and he can be your guy going forward. That's what I'm more worried about is what do you do this offseason? Do you re-sign him? Because he's had enough success, meaning enough starting time that it'll be you're not going to get like an easy contract with him. You're going to get a 1-year deal. I don't think he's going to be asking for multi-year deal given his age and everything. And the question is whether or not you can pay a guy who you're not sure is your franchise guy. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's just going to depend on, I think, play time for him. And, if Russell Wilson is, hurt a little bit longer, it's going to depend on how he plays. Again, Mike Tomlin seems like he's pretty content and fine with him as a starting quarterback for this team and, possibly somebody moving forward down the road. But I think it's all just going to come down to, play time for him, just to kind of see how he can do out there while he's out there playing, on offense, and with that first team offense.
So this is his 39th career start today. Now he's 11-28 as a starter. So, it was good enough today. I think they can beat teams like Atlanta with play like this, but like that second half of the season, we get play like this, you're just not going to be able to do enough in those games. Yeah, some of those tougher teams out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to Tom.
Speak more about his resiliency throughout the game. Talking about Justin Fields.
Man, Justin is, as I've gotten to know him, man, he is a real steady Eddie, man. He's not overly talkative, man, but he's got a steady, strong demeanor. And just being in stadium with him, man, some of the things that I've seen through team development were confirmed. It's just good to be able to communicate with a guy when things get thick and you see the clear eyes. He's there. He's solid as a rock. And I think his play and thus our play is kind of reflective of that.
Does Justin's performance today affect Russell's status as QB1 as a starter?
And you can come ask me that question on Tuesday.
Coach, any words for Raheem Morris's first game back in Atlanta?
Man, I love my brother, and I wish him the best moving forward. But that's what I said to him after the game. Man, this is what we do. But that's my little brother, and I'm proud of him, and I wish him nothing but the best moving forward.
Touched on it, the pass toward the end of the half, that get an answer like that quick on that deep pass, and then it was a good route by Pickens. You just talk about the impact that had.
It's team supporting team. We had a couple timeouts, man. We were, trying to be aggressive there, man, and respond. And we were able to do that, thankfully, and put 3 points on and make it a one-score game. So, that's what teams do, though, man. Like, there are going to be plenty of times in a 60-minute battle that all three phases get a chance to support one another. And when you really think about it, you saw really vivid examples of that today. In a lot of areas, man, that Boz punt and that coverage by Scotty Miller and whoever that other gunner was significant.
Yeah, that was a huge time in the game. You're up 15-10, 4th and 31, and you got a worst case scenario there. Boswell drops that ball. Worst case scenario, he shanks it out of bounds, and you're looking at a situation where the Falcons have a shorter field and they can possibly score there. But everything went perfectly. The Gunners, like he's saying, were great on that play. And then you have even later on Scotty Miller holding that last field goal there. Yeah, we're sitting there watching the game, being like, who's going to be the holder here? And then it's our fifth receiver that comes out there to hold the ball. I thought those were two cool plays there at the end that were significant, as Tomlin likes to say.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice to to have other players that that are able to step up and fill positions when needed. Because of injuries and other things like that. So it's nice to be able to have those guys step up and make the plays that needed to be played. So those were key plays that just needed to happen, and key player positions to come in and step in and do what they needed to do. So it was great to just have those guys ready to to be available to step up when needed to be called.
And I think they're about to ask if it's you can't overlook Boswell as a kicker today either. He was just awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's this question's going to be about.
Some results, but I saw growth in the wide receiver room.
Oh, no.
So what do you think overall in terms of the first game, your growth so far as you're going forward?
I got no reservations about our wide receiver room. They did what I expected them to do, which is playmaker, and I'm appreciative of their efforts today, no doubt.
How do you evaluate the job that your offensive line did today?
They're 1-0, just like all of us. That's how I evaluate it. Football's our game. Our business is winning. We play today, and we play to win. We'll comb through it tomorrow. I have all that cute stuff for you on Tuesday.
Simply, can you talk about the defense as far as shutting the Falcons out in the second half?
I'm appreciative of that. But to be quite honest with you, man, we got high standards and expectations for this group, man. We got some first-team All-Pros in that unit, and I expect them to play like that, and they did. Big-time players step up in them big-time moments, man. Can't say enough about 90 and company.
So going that first question they had about the receivers, the guys we have behind Pickens today, Calvin Austin 1 catch for 7 yards, Van Jefferson 1 catch for 1 yard. Scotty Miller didn't grab a catch. You really didn't need it today though, with the way the game was going. So it's hard to complain too much about that. And they did spread the ball out to we got 8 different guys who had catches, 6 for Pickens, 4 for Freiermuth, 2 for Warren, 1 for Pruitt, 1 for Harris, 1 for Darnell Washington on top of the 2 catches, 1 each for Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson there. What are your overall thoughts on the receiving lineup? I mean, you only get 157 yards or 56 yards total. You're not going to expect many big games, but I think that Pickens showed that he can be a number 1 in this league for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely number 1 in this league, and like you said, how this game went, really wasn't too much on what was needed for wide receivers. Again, maybe you would like to see them get more catches and things like that, but just the way the game went, it just wasn't really too necessary to happen. But we can't play like that every week. Every week's not going to be like this game, how it was. And so hopefully, with the coming weeks, a lot of these guys can get more catches, get open, make some plays and things like that, and somebody step up and things like that. But I think, like you said, George Pickens is the guy for us for number one. And hopefully we'll see, somebody step up as a number two, what needs to be. I mean, I understand we got Van Jefferson as number two, but hopefully somebody will step up, make some plays, and we can see these guys get more catches as the weeks come on.
Yeah, and then the next talk was about defense. There, he brought up the All Pros. Patrick Queen only had 2 tackles, but I mean, with 10 points given up on the other side, I don't think it's something to be worried about or anything like that. I'm not sure what role he was really playing specifically today, so can't complain about that. And then your other All Pros, you got Watt, who had a great game. Could have had even a more spectacular game if it wasn't for some penalties that were called. Highsmith, 5 tackles, nothing for loss. He had that nice deflection though. That was a good big play down the stretch there. And then your 2 guys you picked over the last 365 days or so with Dante Jackson and Deshaun Elliott, both getting interceptions we mentioned earlier. I think that the defense was great, as we keep mentioning here. But let's finish up Tomlin. About 2 more minutes left.
You did in your pressure on Cousins. I felt like you were at least around him enough to affect what they were doing in the passing game.
Cousins is very good versus blitz. And so we had to create pressure really in a non-blitz structure. We know that about him. Last year, he was good versus 5 or more rushers. Over the course of his career, he's great versus 5 or more rushers. He's been good against us specifically as the Pittsburgh Steelers versus 5 or more rushers. And so that wasn't our agenda. We needed to do it with a 4-man rush, and we were able to. We were able to pace him. We were able to get him off the spot. We would want more, but we're never going to be satisfied. That's just the life that we live. I was appreciative of what we were able to get done in their efforts in that regard.
One more. If anyone?
Boswell, those were not easy kicks. 50, 57, 50, I mean, you've seen it before, but tell us about his value there.
Man, we all know what he's capable of. I don't think anybody in that locker room is surprised, by what he was able to do. As a matter of fact, he loves it. You know what I mean? Like I've been around this guy a long time, man. He wants the long ball. He's built for it. And I think it's just really displayed in my confidence in him, man. I don't have any hesitation to send him out there. As a matter of fact, I look forward to sending him out there because I know he relishes it. And so we're thankful for that.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
So there was Tomlin finishing up. He did get to Boswell. I was predicting the future, I guess, there.
Yeah.
But 6 for 6 from him. I mean, what can you do? What can you say that Tomlin didn't just say there? Going back to Cousins, though, he finished 16 of 26 for 155 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He was sacked twice himself. And in the second half, only 19 yards, which is the lowest in his entire career.
Wow. Yeah, that defense really stepped up in that second half and really kept him in check. I mean, Cousins is a talented quarterback, like, Tomlin gave him his flowers and things like that, but the defense stepped up and did their thing. And it was nice to see, them hold him, to just 19 yards in the second half is just amazing. And again, what can you say about Boswell? I mean, he's phenomenal. I mean, he stepped up today and, he did his thing and showed out, and 6 for 6 on field goals, and he came in and made that punt, which was just great. And, was able to still make a kick with a backup holder for that final field goal that he made. So, MVP of the game for sure right there for him, for Boswell, for this team today for week 1. And, just glad he's on the team because he just like last season, he helped us out a lot. And, he's going to be doing it again this season and, for as long as he's on this team. So, kudos to Boswell today for the phenomenal game he had.
Yeah, it's such a weapon and a comfort to have a guy know that you can rely on your kicker. Your kicker's going to be solid for you. So next week we got the Broncos. That game is at 4. Right now the Broncos are tied 3-3 against the Seahawks in the second quarter. I haven't watched much to see how Bo Nix looked, but what are your final thoughts in this week or thoughts going into next week against Denver?
Yeah, I just think that week one, just how week ones go, you just never know what's going to happen. Hopefully as the week goes on, we'll kind of see how things progress for this team with things meshing. Again, I hope that these penalties can go down, because we can't have this go on another season like this. So hopefully that's addressed. We'll see. I guess he said on Tuesday we'll get the status of Russell Wilson's injury. Seeing if he'll be the starter or not. If he is a starter, again, like we talked about last week, this will be a revenge game for him going to Denver. So we'll see how that goes. 2 weeks in a row on the road for the Steelers to start the season off. So it'll be interesting to see. But a win's a win right now, and hopefully any other concerns that they had for the rest of this week, they can be addressed in practice, and things can be worked on, and we'll see what happens come week 2.
Yeah, I think like I tried to say at the beginning here, this was a game where, like, whatever you were thinking going in, I don't know if this game changes too much of your thought process here, but it's good to do that in a win. So they're 18-10 final. Steelers get the win, but that's all I got for this week. If you're good, I'm good.
I'm good. Yeah, sounds
right,
good.
I'll see you.
I'll see you. Yeah.